So the moon is actually really far away from Earth. It's about 384,000 kilometers away. That might sound super distant, but honestly, it's close enough to have a big impact on our planet. The moon plays a crucial role in a bunch of ways. For one, it helps stabilize Earth's climate, and its gravitational pull is what causes ocean tides. Without the moon, life here would be totally different. The moon orbits Earth, moving at about 1 kilometer per second, and this motion stays stable because of Earth's gravity. But over time, the moon is slowly moving away. Every year, it drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther from us. This does change the length of our days, but only by a tiny bit. The moon has always been a constant companion to Earth, and its presence is really important for life. It influences everything from ocean tides to the behavior of our climate. It even helps keep our planet's tilt stable, which, is super important for the seasons. The moon's light at night has guided humans and animals for thousands of years, making it an integral part of our natural world. Without the moon, Earth's environment would be a lot less stable. The gravitational pull between Earth and the moon creates tides, and these tides are absolutely essential for marine life. The moon also gives us light at night, which helps creatures that are active after dark. The connection between Earth and the moon is honestly deep and profound. Now, imagine if the moon started moving toward Earth. At first, the changes would be pretty small. People might notice slightly higher tides, and the ocean waves would get just a little taller. This might seem harmless at first, but honestly, it's a sign of bigger changes on the way. The moon's approach would bring a lot of challenges. Gradually, the effects would grow. The increased gravitational pull would start to affect the oceans, and it would even begin to influence Earth's crust. Small changes would soon become kind of troubling. The moon coming closer means massive changes for Earth. It's not just about higher tides, it's about the way the entire planet would be affected. The first signs of trouble would show up in coastal communities. Folks living near the ocean would see the water rising, and places that rarely flood might suddenly start to see water encroaching. This would be an early warning. The moon moving closer is a real signal of danger, and the world would need to get ready for what comes next. The moon's movement would set off a chain reaction. Small tidal changes would lead to even bigger ones, and the increase in water levels would be a warning, a sign of the chaos to come. People would really need to pay attention to these early indicators, because the moon's approach would be a global concern. As the moon gets closer, tides would rise a lot. Coastal cities like New York and Miami would be at serious risk. Water levels would go up, causing floods, and honestly, these cities just aren't built to handle such high tides. The rising waters would damage infrastructure, and people living in these areas would have to deal with severe flooding. The environment would change drastically too. Coastal ecosystems would suffer, with salt water infiltrating freshwater sources. Plants and animals would be affected, and the balance of nature would be thrown off. Rising tides could even lead to a loss of biodiversity, and the impact on natural habitats would be both profound and lasting. The human impact would be just as severe. Millions of people live in coastal areas, and they'd be forced to move as cities become uninhabitable. Infrastructure would collapse under the pressure of rising tides. Roads, buildings, utilities, all of it would be damaged. This would lead to a huge migration of people. Economic disruption would be inevitable, since many of these cities are major hubs of commerce. As they flood, economic activities would grind to a halt. Businesses would shut down, and the impact on the global economy would be massive. The cost of rebuilding would be enormous, and the rising tides would leave behind a trail of destruction and chaos. With the moon drawing even nearer, tides would become absolutely extreme. Ocean levels could rise by as much as 30 meters, and honestly, no coastal city would be safe. Infrastructure just wouldn't stand a chance against these forces. Cities would face destruction, and the loss of homes and businesses would be devastating. People would have to watch as the sea swallowed up their communities. Evacuations would become necessary, and governments would need to move people to safety. High elevation areas would turn into refuges, with mountains and highlands hosting new communities. Moving millions of people would be a massive challenge, requiring tons of coordination and resources. The world would really need to come together to handle this crisis. Families would be uprooted, and leaving behind their homes and livelihoods would be incredibly tough. The emotional toll would be heavy, as people lost their sense of security and the stress of relocation piled up. Communities would need a lot of support during this transition, and helping displaced people would become a global responsibility. The evacuation would really highlight how vulnerable coastal areas are, and show just how important disaster preparedness is. Governments would need to create new policies, and emergency plans would be crucial. The whole experience would change how we think about living near the sea, and it would definitely be a lesson in the power of nature. So as the moon moves closer, Earth's crust would, really feel the strain. The increased gravitational pull would cause stress in the mantle, and honestly, this would lead to more earthquakes. Volcanic eruptions would become frequent, and the ring of fire would become super active. This area is already known for geological activity, but the moon's approach would just amplify it. People living near fault lines would be at risk, and earthquakes would become way more powerful. Buildings would crumble, infrastructure would be damaged, and the ground would shake with alarming frequency. The safety of millions would be compromised. Preparing for such disasters would be crucial. Volcanoes would also pose a threat, with eruptions spewing ash and lava. Air travel would be disrupted, and crops would be damaged by ashfall. The economic impact would be really severe. The eruptions could alter climate patterns and could even lead to cooler temperatures globally. The moon's pull would have far-reaching effects. Communities near volcanoes would face evacuation, and the danger of lava flows and ash clouds would be high. People would need to move to safer areas, while emergency services would be stretched thin. The world would need to cope with these natural disasters, and honestly, the moon's approach would really test our resilience. As the moon gets even closer, a critical point is reached. This is known as the Roche Limit. It's about 18,000 kilometers from Earth. Here, Earth's gravity would actually overpower the moon's. The moon would start to break apart, disintegrating into pieces. These fragments would range from dust to, large rocks. The breaking apart of the moon would be a spectacular event. People might see it in the sky. It would be both beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The sight of the moon shattering would honestly be unforgettable. But the consequences would be grave. The debris wouldn't just vanish. It would pose a new threat to Earth. The shattered pieces of the moon would form a ring, and this ring would orbit Earth. It would kind of resemble Saturn's rings. The debris would be vast, creating frequent meteor showers. Small pieces would fall to Earth, filling the sky with shooting stars. This would become a new reality for our planet. The formation of a ring would bring new challenges. The debris could damage satellites, and space travel would become really risky. The ring would change how we interact with space, serving as a permanent reminder of the moon's approach. The breaking apart of the moon would definitely be a turning point in Earth's history. With the moon broken apart, a ring would form around Earth. This ring would be made of lunar debris and would orbit the planet for thousands of years. The sight of a ringed Earth would be honestly striking. It would be a totally new feature of our world. However, the ring would bring a lot of problems. The debris would block sunlight, which could lead to global cooling. Temperatures on Earth could drop, and the climate would change dramatically. Crops would struggle to grow, and the cooling could even trigger a new ice age. The impact on life would be severe, challenging both human and animal survival. The ring would also affect technology. Satellites in orbit would be destroyed, and communication would be disrupted. GPS systems would fail, and the loss of satellites would impact daily life. The internet and global communications would be compromised, which is kind of wild, since the modern world relies so much on technology. The ring would force us to find new solutions. Space travel would become impossible. The dense debris field would be a barrier, making it so rockets couldn't pass through safely. This would basically end our exploration of space. Humans would be confined to Earth, and the dream of exploring other planets would have to be put on hold. The ring would totally change the future of space exploration. The ring around Earth would have long-term effects. The cooling of the planet would alter ecosystems, and plants would struggle without enough sunlight. Photosynthesis would decrease, and oxygen levels might drop. This would affect all living creatures. disrupting the balance of life on Earth. Food chains would collapse, and with less sunlight, plant growth would slow. Animals that rely on these plants would be affected, and fish and marine life would suffer too. The ocean's productivity would decline, and this would have a cascading effect. Humans would face food shortages, creating a global crisis. The loss of technology would be another huge challenge. With satellites gone, navigation would be difficult and communication would be limited. Our modern world is super interconnected, and the absence of these systems would be felt everywhere. People would need to adapt to a new way of living, and society would have to find alternatives. The ring would be a constant reminder of the moon's approach, changing how we see our planet. The challenges it brings would last for generations, and humanity would need to adapt and survive. The lessons learned would be, honestly, vital for the future. The ring would shape the course of human history. The moon is more than just a celestial body. It's a crucial part of Earth's system. It stabilizes the planet's rotation, controls the tides, and influences the climate. The light it provides at night actually guides many creatures. The moon's role in supporting life is immense. Its gravitational pull creates tides, which are essential for marine ecosystems. They help circulate nutrients in the ocean. The moon also affects Earth's axial tilt, and this tilt creates the seasons. Without the moon, Earth's climate would be unstable. The moon's presence ensures a balanced environment. For humans, the moon has a lot of cultural significance. It has inspired art, literature, and exploration. The moon landings were a monumental achievement, showing what humanity is capable of. The moon continues to be a symbol of mystery and wonder, holding a special place in our hearts and minds. The moon's importance honestly cannot be overstated. It's a vital part of our world, and its influence is felt every single day. Protecting the moon and understanding its role is crucial. The moon is not just a distant object in the sky. It's a partner in Earth's journey through the universe. Its presence is essential for life as we know it.